Yeah, hi, very good evening, very warm welcome to our Azure sessions. So, I think this is the good time to get started. I can see that most of the participants are already in. So, let me start and let me begin with my session. So, I'm Tanvi Puri. Okay, I will be the trainer for this Azure sessions, and I do have 12 plus years of corporate trainer experience. So I'm already having expertise in the Azure domain and the generic DevOps into the AWS as well. So I will be conducting your Azure sessions. So very quickly, I will be sharing my screen and let me set the agenda of the today's session. And we will be discussing overall the curriculum, everything, whatever we are going to cover. So what are the overall services that we are going to cover in this curriculum? We are going to discuss each and everything. So very quickly, I will be sharing my screen. So just give me only one moment. I hope my screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the confirmation. I just want to know. I just want to know from your side. Just give me only some reactions, okay? So if you are a beginner to Azure, if you are at the intermediate level, or maybe you are at the expert level. So you could just type in the chat. I'm just giving you three options. You are at the beginner level, so you might be at intermediate level, or you are already an expert in Azure. Okay, no issues. Okay, so I can see that some people are also intermediate. Thank you so much for your responses. I could see your responses. Okay, that's great. That's great. So I could see that from the responses, most of the people are beginner. No issues because we are starting from the very scratch. So no issues, no issues. We will be starting from the very scratch. So first of all, let me discuss the overall course content with you. Okay. So this is my Microsoft Azure Cloud Associate. Okay. But apart from this, whatever is actually, we will be covering all the services from our standard course. This is Microsoft Azure Associate, or you could also say that Azure Administrator. So sometimes we also used to refer this AZ-104. This is the basic. This is the at the intermediate level certification. And if you are at a beginner, if you are starting your journey with your multi clouds, or maybe if you're especially you are starting with Microsoft Azure. So this is the first, actually in the Microsoft, they have provided the different levels of the certification. So let me also write it here. So they have provided different levels of the certification. If you are at the very beginner level, this is AZ 900. AZ 900. So this is foundational course. Foundational course. Okay. Then afterwards, we had intermediate level, or you could also refer this as associate level. In this associate level, there is a certification AZ-104. So this is my Azure Administrator. Azure Administrator. So even if you are at the beginner level, this certification is not important, and this certification give you an just only an overview of the Azure services, but how it's going to work, how exactly you are going to, this will not be an expert level course. This is not an intermediate level course. So only you will be learning how actually the services are going to work in the AZ-104 course. So as a beginner level, you should know this AZ-104. In our training of Azure, We will be covering all the contents. We will be covering all the contents from the standard AZ 104 course. I will be covering each and every service, all the in and out of this. After this, you will also be able to write up your exam. So you could also appear for the certification. You could also appear for the certification as well. Apart from this, because this is a customized training, okay, so we are not specific to only this standard level courses, because if you are going for the standard level courses provided by Microsoft or Microsoft partners, they will be only providing you, they will be just be specific with the course content only. So, but apart from these course content, I'm also covering so many content, so many services. Okay. So I will be covering the services from expert level course as well. Now, what is the next level? After, once you clear this, once you understand intermediate or associate level, in Azure, they have provided at expert level. So this is my AZ 305. So this is also solution architect. Solution architect. Okay. So what exactly we will be going to cover in this our training curriculum? We will be covering all the standard services, all the course content from AZ 204. Plus, I will be covering the services from the AZ 305. So, and also we are also covering some services which are important from the deployment process as well. So you could just understand this is you could think like this will be a kind of bonus for you people, because in one single training you will be getting the content of all these courses, you will be getting the hands-on and understanding of all these courses. And now what is this AZ 204? So this AZ 204 is my Azure Developer Associate. This is also at the associate level. Now, see, you have different domains in Azure. You have different domains in Azure. So now we are into the DevOps, right? We are trying to understand Azure in terms of the DevOps. So even in the term of the DevOps, in terms of development, in terms of the expert level, so everywhere you have to get started with the associate level certification. You have to get started with this path only, and this is also at the intermediate level, but this is only for the developers. This is only for the developers, those who want to work, who want to provide the solutions on the Azure platform. So this is for the software development. uh, as per my understanding, the my participants, they actually are from the DevOps or from the operations background. So this is up to you. It's all these concepts are applicable to each of this profile, because we are covering all the generic services. We are covering from this AZ 305. So I will be covering the databases as well, your SQL databases, your Cosmos DB databases, which is actually it's not a part of AZ 104. Then we are also covering some services from AZ 204, like Azure Functions, Azure Logic App. So I will be also covering up these services as well. Okay. And every time when I will be demonstrating the logic, so I used to take the use cases, because I know that some of the participants, they want to switch or they are just there for the upskilling purpose. So there are the different purpose for attending these sessions. So whatever is your intention, the thing is that you should know the use cases and the scenario. Okay. So apart from this practical exposure, apart from this demonstrations from theoretical concepts, we will also be discussing the use cases. And I will also be providing you all the lab documentations. I have documented all the labs for AZ-104, for AZ-204. So with all the screenshots, I will be providing you all the PDF, but that I will be providing at the last day of the session. Okay, so that's all we are going to cover here. Now let me show you. So this is exactly we are going to cover. So this is the agenda of the today's session. Today is the first day of with your Microsoft Azure journey. So today we will be talking about this cloud computing basic, and we will be talking about the different cloud providers. We will be understanding the infrastructure as a service, PaaS service, SaaS service. Then we will be working, understanding how to work with the Azure portal, how to expose all the services, what is the CLI, what is this PowerShell. So we'll understand, we will deep dive into the CLI and PowerShell commands. And this course is 25 hours. Okay. So every day, this will be for 12 days. Okay, so 12 into 2, 24 hours. And I will be taking one more additional hour for this, completing this curriculum of Microsoft Azure Cloud. Then on the day two, tomorrow, not tomorrow, because tomorrow there is an off. Okay, so on Thursday, on the next working day, we will be starting with this Microsoft Enter ID. After this Enter ID, we will be coming and discussing the computing services. Then we will be talking about the networking services. In the networking services, this is the most crucial part of Azure part. I am Azure, or maybe if you are working with any of the cloud providers. So here it is a prerequisite. See, for any of the cloud information, if you are working for the first time, even if you are attending my training sessions, if you are attending this Microsoft Azure sessions, as such, there is no prerequisites. Okay, even if you are non or from the non-IT background, that also works fine for me. But if you are from the non-IT background, you have to put your extra efforts. What extra efforts? Because we are starting from the very scratch. I will be starting from the cloud computing concepts only. But when it comes to networking part, so exactly, I will be also discussing the basic concepts of the IP addressing, CIDR range, and then address mapping, subnet mapping. But see, it's not possible to deep dive into all these concepts. So I will give you an overview. Obviously, I will be providing you overview. I will not directly jump into this Azure VNet service. So here you have to put up your efforts only. These networking services already you have learned in your profiles at the time of, maybe if you are from the computers background. So you have already understood this concept. So for the non-IT backgrounds, I will be explaining and I will be revising all these concepts, no worry. But you have to be attentive at this time because this is the most crucial part here. Then after this, we will be talking about the VNet peering, hub and spoke topology. Then we will be talking about the load balancers, application gateway, traffic manager, network watcher. Then we will be talking about the storage services. So computing, networking, storage services. Then we will be talking about the PaaS services, so how to deploy your containerized web applications? What is the app service? What is the container registry? Azure Kubernetes service, function app, logic app. I will be covering each and everything with you. So normally this is not a part of AZ-104, but all these are an additional things which you will be learning from the other courses. Yeah, one more important thing. We are also providing you the complete course, the complete understanding on this AZ-400. AZ-400 is a separate course which is Azure DevOps Engineer. Azure DevOps Engineer. So we are also covering this part. We are covering this services. how to deploy your applications with the Azure CI/CD pipelines as well. Then we will be also understanding the Azure data platform, where we will be discussing about the relational, about the SQL databases and your non-relational databases as well. We will be talking about understanding the Cosmos DB as well. Then it's coming to, this is mostly from the AZ204. So this is for the security purpose, but we will be understanding all these concepts. Azure Key Vault, managed identities, application management. Then we will be talking and understanding backup and monitoring. So after this, Azure DevOps, right? Azure DevOps, we will be understanding from the very, very scratch. So if you could see that we are covering all the services from the AZ104. So I'm also providing you this complete course curriculum. It's no need to follow this. This is only for your reference, right? This is only for your reference. This is not complete. So let me provide this. Let me provide this. So this is for your self-learning. However, we are covering everything. We are covering everything, all the services, backup, monitoring, computing services, storage services, networking services. We are covering each and everything, identity and access management. So this is for your additional knowledge. This is for your self-paced course. Actually, it is because Microsoft is providing all the self-paced courses. You could easily access from the MS Learn. So this is the MS Learn. You simply have to Google this AZ104 and they will be providing you this complete curriculum. And how to access this, that will also, I will also provide how to access. So however, it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory in our training. Okay. So because we will be covering each and every services, so it's not mandatory. This is only for the additional knowledge. Because maybe in case later on you want to appear for this AZ104 exam, so this is only for your reference. And how to access? So you could start with this. This is the first module. Actually, there are different modules. In each of the module, there are different learning paths. So you could see that one module is for the IAM, identity and access management, then for the networking, for the storage, for the computing, for the monitoring. So you could simply refer to this one, like in this way you have to refer. And there are different learning paths. So first it will show you how to understand the concepts of Microsoft Entra ID, then managed identities, then architectural components of Azure, Azure policy, RBAC rules, self-service password reset. So even I will also show you one advantage of accessing this. If you are going through these modules online, this is only for the additional knowledge. It is not related to our training curriculum. I'm just providing you the self-paced path course. So, however, all the customized content I will be providing you, all the labs I will be providing you. So, you simple need to navigate to this. Okay. Just you have to go through this. All this explanation has been provided here. Actually, if you scroll on this, you will be able to see the uh, for you, if you are doing it for the first time, there will be an option next. But for me, I have already completed this. That's why it is showing me this complete module. So for you, you don't need to scroll here and there. Simply just go to this and go to the next. So it is not like next. You have to just read out all this. This is for the additional information. And after this, once you complete all the topics, they will also be providing you self exercises. So, for example, you want to do some exercise here, you could do this. They will be providing you one sandbox environment. After the sandbox environment, so the one temporary subscription they will be providing you. Okay, so after this temporary subscription, you could also run your labs on the sandbox environment. So, however, we will not be going with this. I will recommend everyone to create a free tier account. So after this, I will guide you how to create an Azure free account. So at the very end, there will be a summary. But before this summary, there is a module assessment, or sometimes it could be some MCQ questions. Okay, so you just click on this module assessment. So once you click this on module assessment, there is a knowledge check. And in this knowledge check, they will be asking you some 4 to 5 or 6, 7 questions from each of the learning paths. So you could submit your answers, right? You could submit your answers, and they will be providing you the complete justification as well for the correct and for the incorrect answers as well. So just you have to submit, okay? And then it will be providing you the complete justification. You could also retake this is multiple times. You could retake this. And what are the advantages? Let me also discuss if you are going through the self-paced course. So, what are the advantages? Actually, once you complete this module, you will be getting some virtual badges. So, this is virtual badge, right? And don't mix up with this certification. I'm not talking about the standard certification. This is a proctored certification exam. So don't mix up with this virtual badges and virtual trophies. And how you will be able to see that you could showcase. So this is an achievement or this is an accomplishment. Now you could showcase this on your LinkedIn profiles, on your social profiles, Twitter, Facebook. Normally we are obviously we are doing on the LinkedIn profiles only. So you could do at the rate at the hashtag Microsoft AZ104 or something. So this will also be adding some weightage to your profiles as well. And obviously some understanding, some knowledge also you gain after going through this course content. But once you are once you are going through this course content, it will ask you to log in first. So you have to log in with your personal Microsoft account. So you could create any personal Microsoft account, Outlook account, your Hotmail account, anything will work. So your Gmail account will also work here. So I request everyone to please keep yourself on mute if you don't have any questions. So let me also show you my personal profile. This is my personal profile. So I will not take too much time on this, but this is an important information. So I just want to show you here as well. Now, if you could see that in this personal profile, you could see that there are so many badges and so many trophies, virtual badges and the virtual trophies here. And from where it came from when I have completed all the modules from the self-learning paths. So you could also see that the module assessment, now it is showing me this is module assessment pass. And all this will be added to your profiles. All this will be added. So I have gone through the different courses like Git, and there are different certifications which I have already cleared with the Azure. So if you want to see with this profile is the only way. So for example, in the future also you want to book your exam, you want to schedule your exam, you want to go for the renewals, everything. You want to track the complete overall progress. So this is the only thing. You have to create your profile. You have to create your profile with MS Learn. So from this profile only, you could book your exam as well. So this is most important information. So if I go to this certifications, so you could see that the list of the certifications which I'm already holding. So, and it's providing me the complete status. Okay, so this is for the SC 400. It's for the security course. So you could see that solution architect, AI, DevOps, developer, administrator. This is SC 900, AZ 900, AI 900. All these certifications are there. And on the same way, it will be redirecting to the renewals as well. So this is about your profile. Let me close this. So this is for your additional knowledge. Later on, you could also refer to this self-paced course. This is completely up to you. This is completely up to you, but it will help you to grow in your future. So this is the complete curriculum that we are going to cover. Now let me very quickly, I will be starting with my actual content, And one more thing I just want to discuss here. So maybe after this training, if you want to appear for your AZ 400 104 exam or AZ 400, so I just want to make you clear. So as this is Microsoft exam. So it is a proctored exam. It is the proctored exam. So by proctored exam, what I mean to say that there will be a complete proctor for the 2 hours. Okay, so mostly it will be around 165 minutes around. So there will be 2 hours for the complete when you are giving your exam. So there will be a proctor from the Microsoft side who will be proctoring you. If even if you are taking your remote exam, so there are different options. You could take your remote exam, or maybe you could also take in person at their test centers. So at the last day of the session, I could also provide you some additional information that how to schedule this exam as well. Okay. So during this proctored exam, you have to keep your camera on. You have to keep your audio, video, everything. You have to keep it on. Okay, so there will be no background noise. There will be no person in your room. So you have to take a quiet place, disruption-free place. You have to take. Okay, and the passing score for this exam is 700. 700 marks you have to score. So out of 1000, you need to score 700 marks. That means 70%. So around 65 questions will be there. And all these are scenario based questions. All these are scenario based questions. So one more thing I just want to discuss with you. So from the same MS Learn, you could also take your practice assessment. This is also you providing you the complete sandbox environment, the same GUI. So actually, if you launch this sandbox, they will be providing you the complete look and feel of the GUI, which you will be looking at your exam time. So if you want to go through that experience, you could also explore this, launch the sandbox. There will be MCQ based questions and there will be one case study at the end. But yes, all these are the scenario based questions only. So this exam is 165 USD. If you convert to the Indian rupee, so in the Indian currency, it will be this much price. Some GST will be added, so it will be around 5K or more than 5K. So simple, you could click on this practice assessment and there will be 50 scenario based questions for you. 50 scenario based questions for you. You could check your answer. They will be providing you the correct justification for this as well. So all these things are Microsoft are providing. I'm not very sure in the case of AWS. AWS is also providing the rich amount of documentation, but these practice assessment and all that, I'm not very sure about this AWS. But yes, this is an advantage in Microsoft Azure. They are providing you this practice assessment as well. So you could also take this exam. Okay. So retake. And one more important thing in the Microsoft. So renewals are completely free. Renewals are completely free. So for example, because if you are taking the exam for the associate level or for the expert level, and one more important thing, you can't directly jump to this expert level exam. You can't directly go to this AZ305 exam directly. So, first of all, you have to clear the associate level exam. You have to clear the associate level exam or intermediate exam. Then only you could jump to the expert level. Otherwise, you could give the exam, but you will not be getting the certificate. Certificate you will only be getting in the case of once you are clear with this intermediate level. So at the intermediate level, there are two courses, AZ104, AZ204. AZ104 is from the administrator point of view, AZ204 is from the developer point of view. But even from the development point of view, they should also know these services which are only and only covered in this. So this is the first step to get started with the Azure. This is the first step to get started with the Azure. And what is the validity of this certification? The validity of this certification is 1 year. After 1 year, you need to go for the renewals. The renewals are completely free. Renewals are completely free. It's not a paid. You could retake as many times you could retake, but before you have to retake, you have to complete your renewals before it get expired, before your expiry date. So for example, you have already cleared your intermediate level exam. After 6 months, you are eligible to take this renewals, and this renewal is a non-proctored exam. This renewal is a non-proctored exam. There will not be anyone who will be proctoring you. This is non-proctored exam. This is absolutely free. You don't need to pay. But this is not something it's missing in the AWS and in the GCP. Because I am certified in all this, I have worked with different multi-domains cloud. So in the AWS, you have to pay the complete amount, and in the GCP, for example, their validity duration is long, 3 years. But in the 3 years, you have to go for the renewals. But in the renewals, you have to pay at least half of this amount. But in Microsoft Azure, this is completely free. This is completely free. This is something an additional knowledge. Now let me get started with our actual course content. So all these are the additional thing. Any questions you want to ask me on this part?
Yeah, tell me one quick question. So, once I completed this Azure course, will I able to crack all these
Yes.
certification which you have mentioned here?
Yeah,
Or do I
not
need to put some extra
yes.
effort to get?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarfraz, for asking this question. So actually, for after completing this Azure training with me, you will be able to damn sure you will be able to crack this exam at the associate level, AZ104. AZ305, you have to go for some more services, because most of the services, see, AZ305 services we are already going to cover here at this training only. But some use cases, some scenarios, some efforts you have to put it here as well. AZ204, because I will be taking only those services which are being used in the deployment phase. So from the DevOps, because all these trainings, we are taking it from the DevOps point of view. So we are covering this basics one and whatever is required from the DevOps journey. So I will be also providing the in and out of all that services. So AZ204, you are not able to crack this because it is including so many services. Apart from this, because we are also taking some more contents as well. For example, your app development also I will be taking from the security. I am also taking this Azure Key Vault. Then I'm also taking the concept of managed identities. But still, there are so many services which are also there in the AZ204. But yes, we are also covering this complete AZ400. So you could appear for these two exams, AZ104 and AZ400. These two exams, you could appear. I will be providing you all the lab documentation for this, for AZ400, for AZ204, and this is a complete it's based on the case study. If you attend any, even in the future, if you are taking any course related to the AZ305, so this is completely scenario based. There are no labs. There are no labs. This is a completely theoretical course. So you just only need to understand the case studies, and after this, you should be in the position that you should provide as a solution architect. You have to think, so you have to provide the solutions for your problems, for your case studies. But yes, in our curriculum, you will be able to appear for AZ400, AZ104, and most of the services we are also covering from AZ204. But still, you have to put your some efforts if you want to go with this AZ204. But this is only for the developers, right? This is only for the developers. If you are into the development, then you have to go with this. Any other questions, please? I hope, Sarfraz, I have answered your question.
Yes, then yeah, I got my answer. So one more question. So you told us that you are not able to cover whole network thing in this course. I to understand that. So will you
Yeah.
help us with some more resources to learn more about network?
Oh, Sarfraz, I will be covering all the networking services I will be covering, which is on the Azure. So I'm just talking about the basics because there are some participants who are from the non-IT background. So I'm just talking about the prerequisites because
Yeah.
even
Oh,
if
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
from just only at the networking fundamentals, but I'm providing you that information and I could also help you with the resources as well. No issue.
Yeah. Thanks. Then that answers my question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's get started. Even if you look at this AZ104, they have also provided you the prerequisites, but it's don't consider this prerequisites, but we are going with this because we are going from the very scratch itself. So in the prerequisites, it is asking you to go with the AZ900 first. But no problem in the AZ900, whatever the services are there, they are just only the at the very basic and the foundational level course. So we are also covering this AZ900 in our course curriculum as well. Now let's get started. Okay, so first of all, I will be starting with C because we have to cover so many services in the Azure and we have 25 hours to complete this. I will not be talking much about the theoretical concepts. I hope that whatever is required, definitely I will be explaining each and everything. But my more concentration, I will be focusing more on the use case and the scenarios and on the demonstration part. So that would be great. Okay. So first, let's get started with the computing concepts, and then I will be explaining that how to create your Azure free tier account. Then I will be explaining each and everything with you. Okay. So I hope that everyone is aware of this cloud computing, right? So Microsoft Azure is a cloud provider, or I could say that this is a cloud computing platform. So what it is providing you, it is providing you all the services on the cloud where you could build your solutions. So where you could build your solutions to meet your requirements, to meet your business requirements or your business goals or your business goals, right? So Azure will be having a very simple setup for hosting your business presence in the cloud. Uh, I hope that everyone is aware of this virtualization concept. So it is based on that virtualization concept only. Okay. So in the backend, Microsoft is also having their own infrastructure, their own private data centers on which they will be with the help of this virtualization, you will be able to getting the resources on the cloud, or you are getting the resources on your with the help of this cloud provider. So, what are the main resources? Storage, networking, storage, networking, computing services, the resources, all of that you will be getting on the cloud only. So cloud is nothing. For example, in simple terms, in a layman example, if I could put in this way, so on the internet, just with a few clicks, you will be able to provision your resources, and you just only need to pay for the services, whatever you are going to use. So exactly that was the concept of your cloud computing. Okay. Then we will be discussing all these concepts. Okay. Let me give you a very basic layman example, and then we will be proceeding with this. For example, if you are using, everyone is using personal machines, your laptops. In your laptops, obviously there will be some limited space. There will be limited RAM. There will be limited memory as well. So CPU processing limits will also be there. So, for example, if you want to work with the deep learning projects, or you want to work with, you want to have some GPU, you want to have some GPU processing capability, but in that case, your system is not supporting. So what you will do? Are you going to invest in the hardware? There are two options. Either you could invest in the hardware and bring a new laptop, but that will be you have to invest your capital, right? You have to invest your money, then only you will be getting that resources. But if I could say that no, you just only need to pay for the resources, whatever you have provisioned, and you don't need to invest in the hardware. I don't need to invest in the hardware. I just only have to pay for the usage only, for the consumption only. So that are the benefits of the cloud. On the cloud, with some few clicks, you will be able to provision the resources. Just as a simple example, you are already using so many services. You are using the Gmail services, that is a software as a service. You are using Dropbox. For example, if your laptop is completely, it's out of disk, it's completely equipped with all the storage and all the memory, then what you will be doing? So are you going, maybe in the future you are also investing, you are also bringing one some laptop, one some new machine. But till that time, you want to store. So you could use that online tools, right? You could use with the Gmail computing. You just upload your you could upload all your documents or files, whatever you want to access. So you could upload all your resources to the Gmail, okay, storage. So this is a simple example. Second, say simple example you could consider as a networking, or you could consider this as a computing. So let me give you a simple example of the computing. Now just assume that you are working on the different projects, and on the different projects you do have multiple requirements of the operating system. On one of the project you want to go with the operating system Windows. You want to, in the other project there is a requirement of Linux distribution. It could be Fedora, it could be CentOS, it could be Red Hat, it could be Debian flavors, Ubuntu, it could be anything. Okay. Now in that case, so your system is only, it is not supporting virtualization. It is only single dual. It's only single one supporting the single operating system. Nowadays, it's not like the case, because we are already working on the Windows 11 and all that. So it is supporting WSL, Windows subsystem for Linux. It is supporting that hypervisor as well. It's not an issue. So with the help of this virtualization, with the help of Oracle VirtualBox, VMware, so these many tools are already there, softwares are there, which you could install, and you could use that multiple operating system here. But suppose you want that computing resources beyond the limits, beyond your actual because see, even in on your local system, if you are creating different virtual machines, that is even also that is consuming your physical host machine. Your physical machine resources will be consumed. Now, just assume that you have maybe you have provisioned 3 or 4 virtual machines, and it has consumed all the memory, it has consumed all the computing resources from your physical host, from your physical machine. So, obviously, then after this, beyond this limit, you will not be able to proceed. In that case, you have to invest and you have to go for the new machine. So at that time, what could be the scenarios? We are going with the online solutions. We are going with the cloud solutions. So cloud is nothing where you could provision the similar kind of the resources. You will be getting the same resources uh, which you are taking the advantage on your local machines, your storage, your network, your computing. So all that things you will be getting on your cloud only. So Microsoft Azure is one of the cloud provider. Other cloud providers are multi-cloud providers are there. There is Oracle, there is AWS, there is Alibaba, GCP, and so on. Okay, so there are multiple clouds as well. So we will be understanding all these concepts. Okay, we will be understanding all these concepts. So let me come to this. What is cloud computing? So I have provided you all the layman examples. So in if I come to the official simple formal example, so it is the delivery of the computing services over the internet. So which will enable the faster innovation, your flexible resources, and your economies of scale. So computing resources, what are the computing resources? That is including your IT infrastructure. That is including your IT infrastructure. Okay. So that could be my virtual machines. So what is my virtual machine? We'll discuss in much more detail. As per now, I just don't want to deep dive at this moment, because you will not be able to understand if you are at a beginner to this course. So virtual machine is just like a instance of your physical machine, which you are getting on the cloud with storage, with some RAM, with some IOPS, with some network. So that is your virtual machines. Okay. Then obviously you will be getting some storage as well. You will be getting the storage. Okay. You will be getting databases as well. So relational database, non-relational database, partition database, all these databases are there. Then you have to, because networking is a very, very important part. In the networking, until and unless you don't have because how exactly you will be going to communicate between the different services, between the different machines. I want to communicate one virtual machine with another virtual machine. I want to communicate one virtual machine with the database, with the storage. I want to fetch the data. So how exactly I'm going to communicate? I have to put it into the network. Until and unless it is not a part of the network, I was not able to communicate. So networking is used for my communication. Networking is used for my communication. So it will transfer, or it will deviate all the traffic or my packets to the destination. So if you want to flow the traffic, okay, so obviously it should be the part of the networking. So we will look at this, how it will be providing, how the cloud will be providing us the networking solutions. So there is a service, virtual network. There is a service, virtual network, which we will be using. And this is my virtual machine. This is my virtual machine, the concept which we will be using in our Azure cloud. And in the storage, we will be using, there are so many services, but usually this is the mostly one which we are using, Azure storage account. Azure storage account. So this is storing all the unstructured form of the data. Okay. We'll deep dive into this once we are proceeding with our sessions. We will deep dive into all that services. Now, cloud services, they will be providing you the different uh, expertise in all the domains. If you want to go with the IoT solutions, with the machine learning, with the artificial intelligence, so there are different services which are exactly helping you to find out the solutions to your all this scenarios. Okay, so but in the cloud computing, if you are working with any of the cloud, so there is only one prerequisite, there is only one requirement. You should have some internet facility. So obviously nowadays everyone is having internet facility. Everyone could do provision the resources. Okay, so provision means creating the resources. Creating the resources. Now you don't need to invest in your hardware. You don't need to invest in your hardware. Okay, so I will come to this private cloud and all that. Just understand, I have already provided you that examples. Just consider this as a traditional corporate data center. Traditional corporate data center means, for example, just think that there is no cloud, nothing. Just come to the era of traditional deployment or come to this. So before this, organizations are having their own setup in their local setup they will be having. Okay, so there will be some servers, there will be some backup servers. On top of that, they will be installing the web applications. They are deploying their web applications. They are installing the web server roles. Some SQL servers will be there. Some obviously some storage options will be there. They have to configure, they have to invest the capital in all this. Okay, but after coming this cloud and all that, then we will be going with this only the cloud solutions, because it is very much user friendly, and it's not something where we have to invest, because it is only on the consumption basis. Now in this cloud models, there are three models: private, public, and this is the hybrid model. So if I come to this private cloud, you just try to understand this private cloud. So actually it comes from the concept of the data centers, corporate data centers. So corporate data centers I have already explained. So this is, for example, this is my organization. This is my organization. And in this organization, I do have my own setup, my own infrastructure. Okay, so I do have all the hardware. I do have all the hardware resources. It could be your disk, it could be your storage, it could be your servers, it could be everything is there. So I have invested my capital in this hardware resources and making all the setup. So I do have my own network in which I have hosted the different applications. Okay, so this is the cloud, okay, that is used by the single entity. That means single organization will be using this. Now, this private cloud companies, they will be private cloud that will be providing the greater control. So why we are using this private cloud? Because this is providing us the greater control and for the security reasons as well. So you don't want to expose, you are working with a very critical application, very sensitive information, and you don't want to expose us on the any cloud on the any internet provider on this cloud services provider. So you want to go with this your own setup. In that case, you could go with this private cloud. So you have to make this, you have to set up this complete cloud. Okay. So there are so many benefits for using this complete cloud. So you have to set up your own in your data centers. So it could be hosted in the dedicated data centers offsite. So this is obviously my offsite, or you could also use that third party that will be having the dedicated data center to your company. So you could do this. But in the private cloud, as I told you, this is mostly for the security reasons and giving this greater control, having this control. So I don't want to give access outside of my organizations. For example, someone, some employee or some person of my organization. So because if he is in the network, he's able to access. But outside of the network, if he want to access the application or he want to access the resources, maybe the database, he was not able to access because he's out of the network. Nowadays, it is not an issue because we are using VPN options and all that. But yes, at the main intention between this private cloud, the reasoning behind with this is the greater control, and you don't want to give access outside of your organization. Now, coming to this public cloud. So, first I will complete this, then I will also give you some layman examples in order to understand, in order to correlate with this private, public, and hybrid cloud. So, public cloud is built and it is controlled. So, it's completely controlled and managed by third party cloud provider. So, it is completely maintained and controlled by a third party cloud provider. So, what could be the third party cloud provider? So, it could be your different clouds provider and AWS, Microsoft Azure, Oracle is there, GCP is there, then Alibaba is there. So there are so many clouds facilities which are already providing there. They do have they are providing the services. So you could use any of the cloud providers. So most of the big giant organizations, they are using the services of the cloud providers. They are owning their own subscriptions, and according to the SLA, they will be paying as per usage. So they will be providing you all the resources. They will be providing you all the resources in the form of the services. Okay, so you could provision and you could access the services and the resources. And it is available publicly. It is available publicly. So it doesn't mean that it's data, there is no data leakage. Okay, so don't misinterpret me. This is a secure network connection. However, it is on the public cloud. It is available. You could only access with the help of the internet. But don't think that there is no security. So there is security, because in the similar way, just like in the case of the private cloud, you are creating your own network. In the similar way, in the public cloud, in the cloud provider, they are also creating a network and they are providing you the complete isolation. The complete security will be taken care by Microsoft Azure itself, or maybe any of the cloud provider. So there is no data leakage, there is no data that is available on the internet. So they will be taking care of all that things. So how access is there? So you have to provide the access to the users of your organization, to the employees of your organizations. You have to create user identities. Only after this user identities and providing your authentication and control, then only they will be able to access the data, and that will be hosted in the private network. So you could understand there is a private network which is hosted on the cloud, which is hosted on the cloud. So there is a complete isolation. Apart from this network, even if you want to access the resources from outside, you will not be able to access this. Okay. So this is my public cloud. And why we are using this public cloud? So there are multiple benefits, but mostly this is billing is done on the consumption basis. Billing is done on the consumption basis. So whatever you are consuming, you just only need to pay for that services. So obviously, for all the organizations, maybe some startups are there, or as an individual, you are doing some testing, you are learning some new things. So obviously you are not able to invest in your hardware. You can't buy that resources. So in that cases, you could use the services of your public cloud provider. Now coming to the hybrid cloud. So in the hybrid cloud, this is the combination of both. What is the combination of both? It is the combination of both public and the private cloud. And what is the reasoning behind this? Because in the hybrid cloud, what I want to do now, just understand in the case of, I'm just providing you one use case and scenario in the case of migrations, where you want to migrate your legacy applications from on-prem. On-prem is nothing, on premises means your own infrastructure, your corporate infrastructure. Now, in the case of the migrations, or see, if you are going with your own private cloud, so there are so many things which you have to consider. What are the things you have to consider? So there will be, first of all, there will be a hardware investment, capital investment on the hardware resources. Then there should also be the maintenance. Okay, if some server goes down, if there is some faulty infrastructure, if any of the reasons could be there for this, or maybe some services are down, so you have to look at the maintenance as well. But in the case of the cloud, you don't need to worry about this maintenance part. Upgradation. So in case, obviously, there will be upgradation which is required at every moment. So there are new versions which are available. So you have to upgrade, even you have to upgrade the operating system as well. So in that case, you have to go for this upgradation or for the maintenance task. So at that time, you have to, your servers will go down. So if there is a faulty infrastructure, you have to replace that faulty infrastructure as well. Okay. Again, this is also kind of the investment. This is a kind of the investment. Some support is also required. Some support is also required 24 into 7. So just to keep your services up and running. So there are so many things which you have to do in your private cloud. So in order to avoid this, all that things, we are using the concept of the public cloud provider. But still, and I have provided you one use case when the migrations will be happening from the legacy applications to the cloud providers, or maybe one some organization, they want to completely divert from the on-prem to the cloud. So at that time also, they could be going with the public cloud providers. But there could also be some use case scenarios where I want to use this interconnected environment. I want to keep my some of the infrastructure in the public cloud provider and some of the infrastructure I want to keep it in my private data centers. Okay. So in that cases, what is the reason? For example, you are working with a critical application and you don't want to expose it to the public. You don't want to keep it on you don't want to deploy that application on the cloud provider, public cloud provider. So this is for mostly for the compliance reasons. It could be for the legal issues as well, or it could be for your security reasons. Okay, so it is providing you the greater flexibility and control, greater flexibility and control over the security, over the networking. So, for example, whatever the critical part is there, you could keep it on your private data center, and afterwards, for example, you have found that with the help of some pricing calculator, there are different calculators which Microsoft is providing, TCO calculator, pricing calculator, to just give you an estimate that if you are switching from your on-prem to the cloud, how much you will be saving. So you could be getting some estimation, pricing estimation. So, for example, if you are doing some migrations or you are diverting from this on-prem to the cloud and you don't want to keep all the services running on your cloud, so in that case, you could make some services be keep your services on the private infrastructure, and some of the services which are not very costly services because it is based on the consumption based. So you just only need to pay for that only services. You don't need to invest in the infrastructure. You don't need to invest in that infrastructure. So, for example, giving you a very simple example, for example, at the peak timing, if you have deployed your application in your private data center. Now, in that private data center, at the time, this is my e-commerce application. At the time of this e-commerce application, now what could happen? So there are so many end users who are accessing my applications. At the peak time, so there will be a huge traffic which is coming from the client browsers in the form of HTTP request. So afterwards, you have to increase your hardware resources. Okay, you have to scale up your infrastructure. So how you are going to scale up? Are you going to set up this complete environment? No, that will be a very long process. If you are setting up all that in your private cloud, so first of all, there is a business analyst who will be coming into the picture. Then afterwards, solution architect will be there who's providing the high level architecture. Then procurement process will be going on. It will be collecting the quotations from the different vendors. Then some network engineers, some field engineers, some system administrators, everyone will be coming into this picture to set up this complete whole servers. So it is a process of more than 6 months. So how you are going to serve this traffic? So obviously it will be impacting your business. It will be impacting your end users, because if you are not able to respond, the users are not getting the information there, your application becomes unresponsive. In that case, what will happen? So your business will be affected. So in order to avoid all that scenarios, we are going with this cloud providers. Okay. That is the reason we are going with this cloud providers. Now in this hybrid cloud, what exactly is happening in the hybrid cloud? So there are both things. Okay. So whatever you just feel that whatever the uh, I could say that whatever is the cost efficient services, you could keep it running on the cloud provider, and whatever is the from the security reasons, you could keep it on the private cloud. if it could be the reason of the compliance or any organizational or the legal issues. Okay, so that was the difference between your public, private, and the hybrid cloud. So in the public cloud, there is no capital expenditures for the scaling up. So you will be in the private cloud, we will be having a greater control over the resources and security is there. In the hybrid cloud, it is providing me flexibility. That is the important advantage. And in the case of the public cloud, so you could see that in this slide as well. So there is no capital expenditure. You could provision the resources and deprovision, delete that resources in just a few clicks. Okay. So organizations only pay for what they are using. So for example, you have provisioned a virtual machine, you just only need to pay for this virtual machine. Once you stop your virtual machine, if it is not in the use, you could stop your resources. But in the case of virtual machines, you have to pay for the memory, but this is very minimal cost. It's a minimal cost. Even if you stop your virtual machine, you have to pay for this, right? But in the case of Azure functions, in the case of Azure Logic app, so it will be totally on the consumption basis. In the case of Azure Function Service, so if you run it for 23 seconds, you have to pay for only for this 23 seconds. There are some serverless options. We'll discuss in detail in the upcoming sessions. Now, coming to this private cloud. So, in the private cloud, obviously, you have to go for this capital investment. Okay. So, this is for you have to go for the startup, for the maintenance, you have to purchase everything. But it will be providing you the complete control over the resources and the security. So, that could be the biggest advantage. And but you will be responsible for the patching, for the upgradation, for the monitoring, for the networking. So everything you will be responsible. Everything you will be responsible here. But in the case of the hybrid cloud, it is providing you the greater flexibility. In that, you could decide which services you want to keep on the cloud and which services you could keep on your private cloud. So you have to determine where you want to run your applications, where you want to run your applications. It's providing you the complete control, security, compliance, and this is mostly used when your company is having some compliance issues, when they will be having some legal requirements. So, for example, I don't have normally in the case of this public cloud. So, for example, my company has some some compliance that I couldn't run my resources in the East US region. Okay, I don't want to give access to the people, those to the customers, to the clients, from where the request is coming from this region. Okay, so maybe there are some different security reasons as well. Okay, so there are different compliance and there are different security policies as well, compliance policies, HIPAA policies. There are different policies. I don't want to go into that security perspective right now. But yes, if there are some restrictions, if there are some compliance issues, then you have to go with this hybrid cloud. Now, I'm giving you a simple layman example in order to understand this complete public, private, and hybrid cloud. So, let me give you a simple example so you will be able to correlate. So you just understand this public cloud, you are renting an apartment. So you are renting an apartment in the big building, in a big building. So where you are sharing some resources, where you are sharing some resources, maybe some common resources like gym, pool, which you are sharing, but you have to pay only for your usage. Whatever you have used, you only pay for this. So public clouds are shared. These are providing you the multi-tenant environments. We'll discuss that term. Right now, it is not a good time to use this jargons, but we'll discuss this tenant and all that. Okay, we'll discuss. So this is hosted by third-party providers. Okay, we have already discussed this is Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. So cloud is not only about this Microsoft, because I have seen from the people, I have seen from the participants who have their understanding on the cloud. If I'm asking question that what is the cloud, they are telling me this is Microsoft Azure, this is Amazon, this is my GCP. No, this is not the appropriate answer. This is not your proper understanding on the cloud. Cloud could be of three types: public, private, and the hybrid. And this cloud concept came from this virtualization. Okay. Now, from this private cloud, so if I give you the basic layman example, you could understand. For example, you are owning a house, you are owning your own house. So, in your own house, you will be having your full control. You are the king of your home. Okay, so but you are responsible for your maintenance. You are responsible for the maintenance of your home. If anything is not working, if anything goes down, so obviously you have to look up into this. No one else is coming to help you out in this private cloud. Hybrid cloud. Let me think about the layman example. Yeah. So you could think of this. I'm having a house. I'm having a house. Plus, I'm also having a rented office. So this is my own house. This is my own house, which I have purchased, and this is my rented office. So whatever the private things I have kept in my house, and whatever the shared spaces are there, I've just put it in my maybe in my rented office. Okay. So in this way, you could just think about this. This is a basic layman example. Okay.
You can say that in a big building, you have purchased one room and you have rented one room. That
Yes, yes. We
that would
could
be a
also.
best example, right?
Yes, yes, yes. We could also. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Thank you so much. So at every point of time, you could provide your inputs. It's most welcome. Okay. So now coming to this consumption model, let's understand this consumption model. So I have discussed this. Cloud is based on the consumption model. Now, what is this consumption model? So when you compare your IT infrastructure models, there are two things which you have to consider: capital expenditure and the operational expenditure. Now, this is mostly referred to as the CapEx. So CapEx is nothing. This is my one-time investment. So I could say that this is my one-time investment or my upfront expenditure So, for example, capex. For example, you have to set up your own data center. Okay, you have to purchase the hardware, right? You have to invest in the this infrastructure. So you will be taking some new building, right? Either you are taking it on a rent or maybe you are purchasing this. Then obviously some parking lot that is also required. You are building your own data center, or you are also investing or buying a company vehicle as well. Okay, so many things are there in the setup. So this is where you are investing, where you are upfronting. So this is my upfront spending of the money on the physical architecture. So this is a having a value cost that will be reducing over the time. But in the case of the operational expenditure, this is mostly maintenance. This is mostly we are using this in terms of the maintenance. So for example, you are spending only on the product and the services whenever it is needed. So this is based on pay as you go. Pay as you go. So cloud is based on this pay as you go service or pay as you go concept. So you will be getting billed immediately. You have to monthly bills you will be getting. So based on your subscription, you will be getting the billing part. We'll discuss later on. But yes, so for example, this in for example, you could say that you are signing up for the cloud services. So this is also an example of the OpEx. Okay, you are leasing a company vehicle. So that is also an example of my operational expenditure. Okay, so our consumption model is having so many benefits. Okay, there is no upfront cost. There is no upfront cost. So you don't need to purchase, no need to purchase and manage your costly infrastructure. You don't need to purchase and no need to manage your costly infrastructure. So there is the ability to pay for more resources. There is the ability to pay for more resources whenever they are needed. So whenever they are needed. And this is also providing you the ability to stop paying for the resources when they are not needed. So this is basically on the consumption based. You don't need to pay when they are not in the use. When they are not in the use, but you have to deactivate. You have to deactivate or you have to stop that services. Otherwise, how cloud will come to know that they don't have to consider the service. You have to stop that services. Okay, so at any time you could provision and you could deprovision your services. So that was the biggest advantage. That is the biggest advantage. Now let me come to the next part. So let's discuss the benefits. So there are so many benefits of this cloud. So let's discuss one by one in the terms of high availability. So in the terms of high availability, let me give you one example. For example, you are deploying your application, right? You are deploying your application or a service. So it's very important that your resources are available. So it's very important that your resources are available when it's needed, whenever it's needed. So for example, your application should not be having downtime. So, at everyone nowadays is accessing Netflix, everyone is accessing Amazon, Flipkart. There are so many e-commerce applications, right? So have you seen any downtime in these services, in these applications? If there is a downtime, could you imagine that how this company organization will be having the loss? So they will be having a huge impact if these services goes down. So they are making ensure that all the services will be available all this time. So they have to ensure the maximum availability. So there should be maximum availability regardless of any disruptions, regardless of any disruptions or events that occurs. So there could be any disruptions. Regardless of that, there should be highly available application. So there are different options, which there are different services which we are using for the availability. We are adding multiple solutions in our case studies, in our scenarios. We'll discuss later on. We'll discuss for each of the service, there will be different options for the high availability. So for example, if you are going with the storage account, so there are replication strategies. In the case of virtual machines, you could take the backup. In the case of virtual machines, you could go for with the virtual machine scaling. You could go with the there there are multiple options for this high availability. Okay, so when you architect your solution, you have to look for this option. You have to search for this, how to achieve this high availability. Okay, but Azure is providing you the complete highly available cloud environment. It guarantee that all the services will be up and running based on the service level agreement, based on the service level agreement. So this SLA is nothing. It's showing me the uptime of the services. It's showing me that how much time the resources will be up. So for example, if you are getting this much time, 99.9%, so that means only 0.1% will be the downtime of your resources. So it's based on the SLA. This will be a kind of the agreement when you are creating, when big organizations are taking some subscriptions. So they will be having some kind of the SLA with the cloud providers. And on the basis of this SLA only, the services will be up and running. Okay, so at, because disruptions could happen at any point of the time. Okay, maintainability is there. You have to plan the maintenance. Some hardware issues could be there, but you have multiple options. You have multiple backups. Some plan should be there in order to achieve high availability. Now, coming to the scalability. So, in the scalability, it's nothing. Scalability is, let me put it in this way. Scalability is the most important benefit of the cloud resources. So actually, at the time of the peak time, or in the case of the demand, when the demand gets increased, when the traffic gets increased, so at that time, you want to scale your resources. You want to scale your resources. You want to increase. So scaling means you want to increase the resources. Now just assume that my traffic is hitting my application at morning 3 a.m. at morning 3 a.m. So will my administrator will go, and at this morning time he will be adding some instance on this cloud. Obviously with some few clicks we could increase the number of instances at any point of time. At any point of time we could increase the number of the instance. This is absolutely true. But is there is some administrator, or there is someone who is sitting in front of this application, who is sitting in front of resources and watching and monitoring these resources 24 into 7? No, obviously no. So there will be, at the time of this, scalability is required. So at that time we could go with the auto scaling, because suppose at the time of if I give you the best example, for example, my any e-commerce application, they will be having on in the case of Black Friday sale. In the case of Black Friday sale, so obviously at the time of sale, at the in the Amazon also, at the most of the time Diwali or some other festivals, there will be a peak time, and the traffic will be, sale is going on, so there will be a huge user traffic. So at that time I don't need to invest in this infrastructure. So am I going to purchase my hardware? No, obviously no. So I will be increasing the number of the instance, the number of the resources on my cloud provider. So scaling, that concept is known as scaling. So in that scaling, what we will do? So scaling is up of the two types. I will also discuss, but now let me give you one more scenario. This sale, Black Friday sale, is only for 1 week or 2 week. After 2 weeks, for example, the earlier the resources was Just assume that my only 3 virtual machines are running. At the time of the sale, at the time of this peak load, I have increased the number of instances from 3 to 6. And now the traffic becomes normal. After this sale, there is normal traffic. So am I keep up running these resources up? So obviously there will be a cost in cloud. Nothing is free. Whatever you are consuming, you need to pay for this. So obviously, no, I want to scale down. I want to scale down my resources. I don't want to use if they are not in the if they are not needed. So I want to deprovision. I want to deprovision the resources. So there are some auto scaling rules which you could create. So what auto scaling rules will do based on the metrics, based on the metrics, so it will be creating the rules. For example, if I am saying that if my CPU percentage is above 70%, please increase the instance. Please increase the instance by maximum, maybe the number you have to define on your own, the minimum and the maximum range. So it could be in the range, whatever the range you have provided, minimum and for example, minimum 3 and maximum 6. So increase this by 1 or increase this by 2. So when the CPU percentage, when you have seen that my CPU percentage, my average workload is now less than 25% or 35%. So decrease the instance, decrease my virtual machines or deprovision my virtual machines by 1. Now again, the range will come. Okay. So on the basis of this matrix, you could define your auto scaling rules. There are different metrics on the basis of the HTTP request, on the basis of your working memory, average memory consumption, on the basis of your data which is going in, data coming, data which is in and out of your cloud. So there are different metrics which are available. On the basis of this, you could define your rules. But yes, one more concept is there in the scaling. In the scaling, there is one more concept. The scaling is of two types. Scaling is of two types: horizontal and vertical. Horizontal and vertical. Now, in that vertical, so any idea about this horizontal and vertical?
If you want to
No
increase the resources
idea.
within the same virtual machine, then that is known as vertical scaling. And if you want to increase the number of instances, then that is horizontal scaling.
Correct. So vertical is something which I'm increasing the computing capability, where I'm increasing the capability or I'm increasing the resources of my infrastructure. So for example, just assume that it's already when my application was deployed, this is providing me, uh, maybe this is my one virtual machine with two CPU cores, two CPU core and some 8 GB RAM, some 8 GB RAM. But at the time of the peak load, when I want to scale up the resources, at that time, I could increase the capability only. I could increase the capability only. So at that time, I just increase the number of the computing resources. So for example, this is only one virtual machine. Now it is providing me four CPU cores, and it's providing me maybe 16 GB RAM. It's providing me 16 GB RAM. So this is my vertical scaling. But in the cloud, it's auto scaling is preferred, and auto scaling is based on the concept of horizontal. Now in the horizontal, I just want to increase the instance. Instead of this, instead of increasing the computing capability. So what I could do here, I could increase the number of the instance. For example, earlier when the application was deployed, initially it was started with one virtual machine. At the time of the peak loads, this number has increased to 2 VM. And again, at the time of this peak loads, maybe at the time it has increased from 3, but 2 to 3. So you have to define this minimum and the maximum. Okay, so it will keep increasing. It will keep increasing the number of the instance, the number of the instance. So this is the concept of the scalability. This is the concept of the scalability. Let me go back to the slide deck.
So it depends upon the requirement. So
Yeah, it's
either way,
depend on the requirement. It depends on
because
the
in the vertical scaling, even though we can increase the core virtual CPUs and RAM.
Yes, yes, yes. We could do this. This is also depending on the scenario. For example, if I could say that in the case of the SQL, okay, so there will be different type of the we could go with this horizontal, okay. In the case of the Cosmos DB, so there will be different type of the scaling. So we'll discuss in at the time of the databases. We'll discuss. This is
So
obviously this is also based on the use case.
so the instance part and the storage part is totally different, right? In instance, we are creating a storage, right? So it's a complete different terminology, right?
Maybe I'm not getting you. Could you please come again in the
So what I
instance?
was saying is the instance. So any of the
Mhm.
resource, we are creating one instance, and then on the basis of the requirement, we are actually creating the virtual CPU requirement, RAM, everything what is required
Mm-hmm.
for an application to run, right? So
Correct.
these all things are created in instance, right?
See, instance could also be, don't consider this instance only as a web servers. Instances could also be my database instances as well.
Okay,
It
okay,
could
okay.
also be my
Understood.
instance.
Got
Yeah,
got
yeah,
you got my point. Yes.
yes. Okay, now coming to this, we have discussed this high availability, we have discussed the scalability. Now this, we have discussed horizontal, vertical. Now let me come to the concept of this remaining one. Let's start with the reliability. Okay, so now the reliability is actually, it's the ability of the system to recover from failures. So obviously, in the case of the infrastructure, there would be failures as well. And reliability will is a kind of the metrics will discuss at the time of the backup as well. So it will there are different metrics, RPO and all that. So it will be showing that how much time it will take to recover from the failures and continue to function again. So this is also a very important pillar of Microsoft Azure Well Architect framework. So, now coming to this predictability, okay. So in the case of this predictability, what will happen in this predictability in the cloud, it will let you move forward with the confidence. So what it will do, it will focus on the performance. It will focus on the performance or the cost predictability. So there are two type of the predictability. So both this performance and the cost predictability, they are also the this components of your well architect framework. So when you are deploying a solution for your use case for your problem, so you have to define this performance and cost, are they predictable? So you have to define this these factors you have to keep in your. Now coming to this performance, okay, so there is also this performance. Okay, let me also discuss this. Now, this performance is actually nothing. It will be predicting your resources. Like it will be predicting how much resources are required to deliver a positive experience for your customers. For example, in case of auto scaling, load balancing, and highly availability. So in all that scenarios, obviously we will be requiring the resources. So there should be a proper estimation. You need to predict on the basis of this how much it at max, because you have to provide some range as well, minimum, maximum, and there will be some tiers. There will be some pricing tiers which you need to select. But how you are going to select? There should be some prediction, right, of the resources. Then cost predictability is also very important. So it will be predicting the forecast, the cost of the cloud with the cloud spend. So with this cloud, you could track your resource use in the real time. So you could track your cost of the resources in the real time. You could monitor the resources, and you want to ensure that everything, and you could also apply the data analytics to find some patterns or to find some trends. So that will help you some planning for the better resource deployments. You could use that calculators for the cost. You could use TCO. So TCO is my total cost of ownership. It's mostly used in the case of migrations, where the companies are migrating from their data centers, private data centers, to the cloud. So they could compare their total cost with their own cost of setting up their data center. So they will be getting that complete estimate with the cloud. Now, now let's talk about the remaining one. So coming to the security and the governance. Okay, so security and governance both are the major, most important part. Now, security is a very crucial aspect. Okay, so there are different services which Microsoft is providing, and that is a different aspect, right? Because in the managed services, you don't need to worry about the security and all that, because this is taken care by, this is on the shoulders of Microsoft only. But in the case of infrastructure as a service, or if you are using some open source tools and you want to use the security services from the Microsoft Azure, or you want to go for some hybrid solutions, then Microsoft is providing the different security services. So, for example, you want to keep track, you want to make sure that it has not any vulnerabilities, or it is not prone to the security threat attacks. It is not prone to the any threat attacks, right? So, or there is any requirements, or there is any government regulatory requirements. So that will be coming under the governance. So it has to make ensure that it will be meeting the corporate standards. It will be meeting the corporate standards, and all our corporate policies and the requirements are fulfilled. So it's mostly used in the auditing part. It's mostly used in the auditing at the time of the auditing. Okay. So it should not be outside of my compliance. Okay. Security, we have already discussed. This is the, you should have maximum control about on your physical resources. Okay. So now coming to this manageability, the last one is the manageability. Manageability is how you could manage your resources. For example, I just want to automatically scale my resource deployment based on my need. I want to deploy the resources on some template, pre-configured template. So, which is removing the need of this manual configuration. I want to monitor the health of the resources, and I want to automatically fix, and automatically I want to replace that failing resources. I want to set up the alerts. So all that things you could do with the help of this manageability, right? So all these are my cloud benefits. All these are my cloud benefits which you could achieve. Last one is the elasticity. Elasticity is nothing. What is this elasticity? Actually, there is a very thin line of the difference between scalability and the elasticity. Scalability is not about the auto scaling, but elasticity is about the auto scaling. So that was the only difference, right? In the scalability, we do have, there is a manual approach as well. So in the scalability, it also includes the manual approach. You have to manually scale up and down, scale in and out of your resources. But in the case of the elasticity, in the case of the auto scaling, so there will be some rules which you will be specifying at the time of the demonstration on the Azure portal. I will be showing you that auto scaling rules as well, right? Now let's proceed with the next one. So that was the last topic of the day. And then I will be showing you how to set up your Azure free tier accounts. Then coming to the different cloud services type. So there are the different cloud services. Okay, there are the different types. Now in this category, the first one is the infrastructure as a service. Now, if you could just look at this infrastructure as a service, and it's also known as IaaS. Now in the IaaS, it is most flexible category of my cloud services. Okay, and it's providing you the maximum control and the flexibility. It's providing you the maximum flexibility and control. So I could say that this cloud provider is responsible. This cloud provider, and the best example of this infrastructure as a service is my virtual machines, virtual machine service, Azure Virtual Machine Service. So, for example, in the case of Azure Virtual Machine, now you are cloud is only responsible for maintaining the hardware. This is only responsible for maintaining this data center or physical data centers and all the devices like the physical storage devices, SSD RAMs, and all that. But on top of this layer, on top of this layer, after this virtualization, so after this operating system, after this host operating system, there will be again the hypervisors layer, the virtualization layer. And on top of that, you will be creating your virtual machines, right? On that virtual machines, you will be having your own guest operating system. You will be having your guest operating system. So now you are responsible for that machine. You are responsible for the complete security of that virtual machine. You are responsible for the upgradation. So you want to upgrade or you want to perform any patching on your virtual machines. Okay, you want to do some create some network. Okay, that is also your responsibility. So although Microsoft is also providing you some automatic options, some pre-built options they are providing you for the patching, for the network, for the security, but still you have a flexibility over this. If you want to override, if you want to select your own options, you could go with this. Okay, but you have to select which operating system you want to install. All the installation, everything is your task. You want to go for the configuration, you want to go for the maintenance, networking, everything is your in your task. Okay, that is in your task list. Microsoft is only responsible for the physical data centers or your physical, I could say that the operating system and all that. So it is maintaining only the physical hardware, the physical infrastructure. So this is pay as you go IT infrastructure by renting the servers, virtual machines, storage, networks, operating systems. So you could go with any one of this, right? You could go with any one of this. So infrastructure as a service is mostly used in lift and shift scenarios, in the lift and shift migration. Now, what is this lift and shift migration? All these are the use cases which I am telling you. In the lift and the shift migrations, you are setting up your own cloud resources similar to your on-prem data centers. For example, on-prem already some legacy application is running. Now you want to move all the things, you want to move all the application resources on the cloud, on your cloud. Now you will be requiring that virtual machine. On top of that virtual machine, you will install the web server role and deploy your application. In the testing and the development, in the testing and in the development, you could also go with this, where you want to replicate your infrastructure at the very short moment of time. So you could also go with this at the, in the testing and the development. Now next, if I come to the platform as a service, in the platform as a service, it is also known as paas. Now what is this paas will be doing? Actually, this is mostly for the developers. This is mostly for the developers, and this will be acting as a middle ground between renting your space in the data center, which is my infrastructure as a service, and paying for a complete deployed solution. So actually, it is providing me a complete environment. It is providing me the complete environment or a framework where I actually just use case, and let me give you one use case in order to understand this platform as a service. For example, I want to host my web application. I want to host my web application on my web server. So in case of the on-prem, in case of this, forget about this on-prem, forget about this. I'm just talking about, let me take this infrastructure as a service. So what are the minimum requirements? What are the prerequisites? First of all, you need one virtual machine. Then you will install the web server. Okay, in the case of the Windows, that will be IIS role you will be defining. And in the case of the Windows, licensing will also be an issue. Okay, licensing, registration, everything you have to do. Then some tools you have to install. For example, you have to host .NET application. So you have to install Microsoft Visual Studio, right? You have to install Microsoft Visual Studio or any editor you have to install. All other things, whatever the libraries, whatever the packages, runtimes, whatever is required, you have to install on top of that. But in the case of platform as a service, I need resources. I need resources where I could run my to set up my infrastructure. But I don't want to maintain all this thing. I just want an environment on the cloud where Microsoft is managing the operating system. Microsoft is responsible for my upgradation, for my patching, for my maintenance, for my scaling. I don't want to need to take care of all that things. I want that I just give the specification to the Microsoft that I want to host a .NET application. Please provide me a virtual machine with runtime .NET. With runtime .NET. Please provide me a virtual machine with .NET installed with version 8. With version 8. And in the backend, I need the scalability as well. I need the scalability as well. So Microsoft, please go and take care of this. Whenever I want some more instance, you should scale up in order to make my application available. Okay, I want operating system Windows. So you don't have to take care about all these things. You don't need to install .NET. You don't need to go with this version 8. No need to go for this auto scaling. No need to go for this load balancer. No, nothing. No installation, nothing. Just only platform as a service means where you are Microsoft is providing you the complete framework or the environment with all the tools, with all the specifications available. You just only need to develop your application. You just only need to develop your application, or you need to, for example, I just want to deploy my code. That's all I could do. So there are different PaaS services which are available. Okay. Azure function, Azure function app. Okay. Azure storage account, Azure logic app. All these are my PaaS services. So these database, all these are my past services. Now coming to the last one, software as a service. In the software as a service, if you could look at this, in the software as a service, this will be a completely product. This will be a completely service. So which is available as a software or as a hosted application as a product. Okay, so you just only use the complete product. I'm just saying that you will be using the complete model from a product perspective. So with this SaaS, you are not developing your application, you are not renting any infrastructure, nothing. So you are simply using that products, you are using that products. So for example, a best example is your email. You are using Gmail services. You are able to access your calendars, right? You could use this Microsoft Office 365. So all these are examples of the SaaS. You are just worrying about your data and the information. So you just only need to take care about the data and the information which is required to access this. Otherwise, you are not, are you are responsible for the Gmail development? Are you able to access the background features of the Gmail? Are you able to maintain or upgrade? No, nothing. We don't have to do. We just as a end user, we are using that services. As an end user, we are using the services of the software as a service. So that was my, so there will be some infrastructure, right? There will be some infrastructure. On top of that, there will be some operating system. And on this operating system, they will be running some databases, some development tools, some analytics. And after that, you will be hosting directly using that services, right? So this is the best example for this software as a service. Now this is the last slide. Okay. Shared responsibility model. In the shared responsibility model, if you could see that actually, in the case of the cloud as well, there are the different responsibilities which are being shared by the different vendors. For example, one is my Microsoft cloud provider, customer. For shared, this is the shared responsibility. So if you could see that it has been represented in three color codes. This complete blue is sky blue is represented by Microsoft. So all these are the tasks is provided by a cloud provider. In the case of this, if you could see that on the on-prem, everything is my responsibility. In the case of this is about my physical devices. This is about my physical infrastructure, physical host, physical network, physical data system, physical operating system, everything is my responsibility. Then it comes to the virtualization, right? Because on top of that, due to the virtualization, I will be using the that different instance, right? So I will be using some resources. I'm hosting all that resources on the cloud. So again, I will be creating my network in the case of infrastructure as a service. For example, in my virtual machine. So I'm also responsible for the network. I'm creating my own virtual network. And I'm also responsible for providing some permissions to my users and to my groups. So everything is my responsibility. I have to host my application. So in the case of on-prem, everything is responsibility of the customer. That means organization is responsible for this. But in the case of infrastructure as a service, Microsoft is only responsible for the backend layer, for the physical host, because all my physical resources are being somewhere, it is running in the Microsoft host, Microsoft data centers. Now it's coming to the then rest above part will be taken care by the customer. In the platform as a service, there is a mixed role. So where it is a mixed role, operating system will be taken care by Microsoft, but network you could also interpret, you could also have a control flexibility over the network. So obviously you could also have a control over the this identity and management part, your applications. And then this is the complete responsibility of your customer about your devices. Well, I want to give the access only to the registered devices only. The best example is, for example, your company only give access if you are logging from your corporate devices. So whatever the devices are registered, you are only having the access, and information and data in all the cases, it will be the responsibility of the customers only. Microsoft is not responsible for your data and for your information. Okay. So in the SaaS, you are only responsible for this information, data, your devices, your account. You have to log in with your account. So for example, with your Gmail, you want to access your Gmail account. Just access with your account credentials and you could access the data, right? So this is the simple comparison between the IS, between the PaaS and between the SaaS. So if I give you the layman example, okay, so in the case of the layman example, let me think about this in the infrastructure as a service. You just think that you are renting a plot of land. So you are renting a plot of land. So on this land, you could build whatever you want. For example, I want to make it a hospital, right? I want to make it maybe some office or something. In the past, so just think that you are rented a fully equipped kitchen. You are renting a fully equipped kitchen. This is also renting because on the cloud, everything we are renting. Because actual infrastructure is on the Microsoft, physical infrastructure is on the Microsoft. Now it's providing me the complete rented equipment. Okay, so where I just need to cook, I don't need to worry about the setup. So all that devices, all that devices are already there. So if I need ovens, already are there, so just consider this as a server. Okay, if I need that any plumbing, so just consider this in terms of networking, everything is there. Now, in the case of the SaaS, so just think that you are streaming the Netflix, or you are accessing any e-commerce application. So only you have to worry about your data and information. That's all. No installation, no upgradation, no maintenance, no patching, nothing is required. Okay. So that's all about our basic. Okay, so now we are done with this first part. We are we have understood this basic of the cloud computing and other concepts. Tomorrow I will be, and so sorry I have taken extra 3 minutes. So from tomorrow onwards, I will be keeping making ensure that I would not take that additional time. So from tomorrow onwards, we will be starting with this Azure portal and all that scenarios we will be discussing, and we will be starting directly with Microsoft Entra ID, right? Any other questions? Are we clear with our content? So whatever we have covered, are we clear with this?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So that are the, yeah, thank you so much, Ra. Yeah, please go ahead. Any questions?
Hey Tanvi, hi. I just had a question.
Yeah,
Can you hear
please.
me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So in terms of private cloud and on-prem,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is the difference between them? Because for a private cloud, if I am responsible for managing and maintaining my own infrastructure along with the hardware and software, that's the same thing that I do with the on-prem as well, right? And with the private, I also have to bear the capex and opex both, unless this is hosted on AWS infrastructure. So I just had a little doubt on that. What the difference between private cloud and an on-prem?
So actually, it's almost similar. It's almost similar. So before this cloud concept, when before this cloud concept, when there was virtualization, and when we have all the setup on the on-prem, so that is also known as the cloud as well. Sorry, this is also known as the we could say that is also my on-prem setup. So that there was a very thin line of the difference between this. Uh, you could also consider this as a private cloud only. So just assume that in the case of the private cloud and in the case of this on-prem, so exactly what we'll do in the case of the on-prem, for example, I just only want to give access. I do have only my internal communication network. Okay, so it only the difference will be lying in the location and their ownership. That is the only difference. For example, I don't want to give access outside of my organization, outside of my infrastructure, outside of my data center. So that was the only difference. On-prem infrastructure is physically located with your organization facilities only. So, but the private cloud, you could also host internally within the organization premises, or private cloud could also be provided by the third party providers. Even in the private cloud, you could also use the private cloud services by the third party provider. I could also host that private cloud by the with the help of Microsoft Azure, with the help of AWS, with the help of different cloud providers. That was the difference.
Okay, okay, got it.
Okay. I will also define in the next sessions, I will also discuss on this. What could be the services you could use for this complete setup when it comes to Microsoft Entra ID, and when it comes to the Azure Active Directory concepts, some basic concepts I will again clear this. Okay, so that's all for the day. I'm stop sharing my screen. Yes, I will be sharing all the notes. Yeah, I will be sharing all the notes once I'm concluding this session for this. Okay, for today, I will be concluding the session, and after this post the session, I will be sharing all the notes. And I have already documented the labs. I will be sharing all that complete. I will be providing the access. My backend team will be providing the access to the notes and all that. Uh, Please stay on the call. I will be launching a poll. So this poll is very important for our organization, for our trainers. Okay, so this consider this as a feedback. So yeah, I think yes, you will be having access to the recordings, right? So our backend team will be providing you the complete details how to access the recordings. I'm not the correct person to answer this, but yes, my backend team will be providing everything. Yeah, provide your genuine, valuable feedback that this will be very, very important. This is very important for us. So, in case if you found that my pace is, I'm going very fast, I need to slow down. So, you could just tell me, okay, in your feedbacks. Definitely, I will work on this.
Tanvi? Hello.
So your feedback is very important for the improvement. So I will be taking a note of all this. Okay, so I could see that all the participants had participated in the poll. Thank you so much for your responses. Yeah, thank you so much for your responses. I am ending this poll. From tomorrow onwards, we will be starting with the next services, right? From the next session, we will be starting with Microsoft Entra ID.
Tanvi, a quick
Okay.
question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, an example for PaaS, PaaS might be like AWS Lambda, right? In AWS, you can consider AWS Lambda as a PaaS, right?
Uh,
Platform as a service.
yeah. Who's there actually? Siddharth?
Siddharth, yeah.
Yeah, Siddharth, could you be a bit louder? I'm not able to hear you properly. Could you please
So
come
I'm
again?
asking an
Yeah,
example for PaaS might be AWS
AWS,
Lambda in
right?
AWS, right?
Yes, AWS Lambda, yes.
Oh,
Uh, could you please come again your question? I just only heard about this AWS Lambda. I didn't understand the
an
question.
example for PaaS, PaaS.
Pass. Yes. Azure Lambda, in our case, Azure Functions. In our case of Microsoft Azure, there is a Azure Function service, and in the case of AWS, this is Lambda service. Uh, the speed with the show are going right as good. Please go ahead. Space. Oh, thank you so much, Sarfraz. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all for the day. If you don't have any questions, can we conclude the session?
Yes. So just one question. Earlier we were having an induction. You mentioned
Mhm.
that us that we do on Wednesdays we are having a mentoring session. So
Yeah.
probably
Tomorrow
tomorrow.
you will be having mentor session, right? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Tomorrow I will not be conducting your session. So our session will be on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 4 days a week.
Okay.
Yes. Any other questions, please? Okay, so if no questions, no queries, let's conclude the session. Thank you so much for joining the session on time. Let's meet then on Thursday. Bye, everyone. Have a nice day ahead.